For those of you out in the lobby, let's come on and get a seat. About ready to start. All right, everybody, it's time to start. Gamar Chatima Tova. If I can have it quiet in the house now, please. If you can help your neighbor find some quiet space now. If you can help your neighbor find a seat, Brittany. Mintha, if you can find a seat. Good. If we can help each other come to a quiet space now. Those of you that are hearing my voice, clap your hands. Those of you that don't hear me talking, clap your hands. Thank you. Gamar Chatima Tova, everybody. If we can have it quiet, please, in the house. Thank you so much. On behalf of Harriet and Rabbi Mark, the clergy and staff, to those of you here and to those of you online, welcome to Beit Teshuvah for our observance of Yom Kippur. I want to invite you to pray with us this evening. Rabbi Avraham Joshua Heschel writes that an artisan can never be true to his task unless he is motivated by love of the work for its own sake. Only by wholehearted devotion to his trade can he produce a consummate piece of craftsmanship. He says prayer also is primarily kavanah, intention, the yielding of one's entire being to one goal, the gathering of the soul into focus. He also says that the focus of prayer is not the self. Prayer, and this is the most important piece I want you all to hear, prayer is an invitation to God to intervene in our lives, to let His will prevail in our affairs. It is the opening of a window to Him in our will, an effort to make Him the Lord of our soul. We submit our interests to His concern and seek to be allied with what is ultimately right. Our approach to the holy is not an intrusion, but an answer. Prayer is not judged by the standards of rhetoric, but by the good intention, by the earnestness and intensity of a person. So I'd like you with me and all of us on the bima to take a moment of silence and invite God into our hearts and into this community for this Yom Kippur. Yehiyu leratzonim reifi vehegyon lebi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri vegoali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Amen, amen, amen. Let's begin. This is the time of return. Return again. God, you turn us, and we'll return to
Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai, Eilecha, v'nashuva, Lashana Tova, Vagamar Chatima Tova. I wish you a good year, and may we all be written and sealed in the book of life for the coming year. My name is Barbara Solars, a grateful member of Beit Shuva, an alcoholic, and today a stand-in for my husband Neil, who is wending his way to services from court in Glendale. His assignment as a member of the Beit Shuva Board Executive Committee was to welcome you to Kol Nidre services, so I'm happy to do that for him on behalf of Beit Shuva. Every conversation I've overheard and participated in since Rosh Hashanah last week has been that we love the Home for the Holidays, High Holiday services. This special place is a haven for us, a holy place where miracles happen, a home, and a sanctuary. In tonight's service, we are absolved from all the vows that are unfulfilled, that we made under pressure or duress, or even intentional lies. Tonight, we begin anew. For as long as I can remember, fall has always been a time of new beginnings for me, even before I became a Jew by choice in 1980, and so observed the high holidays. I always look to the new school year as a time for a new start. When I started teaching middle school in 2005, this was an absolute reality. I had new students, an opportunity to design new lessons, another chance to reach and motivate 120 adolescents, but also a new chance to make up and recover from the students I lost the previous year, whom I failed, to whom I didn't reach or motivate. Because as hopeful as new beginnings are, there are always those times when you didn't step up, didn't fulfill your promise and your vows. In that spirit, to all of you here at Beit Shuva, to whom I came across as arrogant, unfriendly, critical, insincere, all the horrible teacher qualities, I ask your forgiveness and I beg your pardon. In Beit Shuva's original Kol Nidre, the choir sings, "Dear God, we are sorry that we hid from you. We are sorry that we lied. We've been so blind. May we please start again. May we please come back to you. We begin anew. We commit to change. May the next 24 hours be transformative for you. May you thrive at home for the holidays. May you find sanctuary in our community. May you be free from pain and care. We begin anew. Gamar Chatima Tova."
So if you're following along, on page 393 is Out of the Depths, a song that speaks to the depths that we cry out from on this day. And also on the screen, the choir is doing the song written by James Fuchs, Out of the Depths.
There is forgiveness with reverence and hope. With all my heart and soul I wait and yearn for you to show. Out of the depths I call you. Out of the depths you hear my cry. Out of the depths you listen, telling myself I can survive. I'm anxious and I'm watchful, and I pray for a brand new day. All from you is blessed and abundant in every way. Abundant in every way.
You listen, telling myself I will.
Sarah. That was awesome. Thank you, Laura, and the choir, too. I'm asking Sergio to come forward on page 394. The next meditation is called Forgiving. Sergio, where are you? There you are. Come on up, Sergio.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sergio. I am the Director of Clinical Services here and a very grateful member of this community as well. I am going to start by reading the prayer and then offering a brief interpretation. I hereby forgive whoever has hurt me and whoever has done me any wrong, whether deliberately or accidentally, whether by word or by deed. May no one be punished on my account. May it be your will, O Lord my God and God of my ancestors, that I sin no more, that I not revert to my old ways, that I not anger you with any more of my actions, and that I not do that which is evil in your sight. Wipe away my sins with your great compassion, rather than through sickness or suffering. May these words of my mouth and the prayers that are in my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock, my redeemer. There's a bit of a frenzy that happens here at Beit Shuvah in the days and weeks before high holidays. When I was a UCLA researcher here conducting a 2-year program evaluation, I had the easy task of just having to show up and witness the meticulously orchestrated and profoundly moving services. This year, I find myself in a new role. As a staff member, I am part of the frenzy, and I anticipated that I would be asked or told to read a prayer and interpret it at one of the services. When the prayer finally arrived, I felt a sense of naive relief at the opening line. I hereby forgive whoever has hurt me and whoever has done me any wrong. This was going to be easy, I thought. I am, after all, a researcher. I'm trained to keep precise data, and indeed I have a robust mental list extending all the way back to childhood of all of those who had done me wrong. All the wrongs methodically tallied and recorded. I could easily share with you the list. I could easily share this list with you, but then of course it would only seem appropriate that I also share the list of those people that I have hurt and need forgiveness from. Admittedly, I am less inclined to publicly disclose my transgressions. But this interpretation, on the one hand, forgive those who have hurt me, and on the other, come off of the proverbial high horse and ask forgiveness of those that I have hurt, seemed a little simple. I knew that there was more to this prayer than what met the eye. And as I immersed myself, a provocative question emerged. How have I reacted to the circumstances and to the people that have wounded my soul? What I have learned is that the tragedy is not that others hurt us or that bad things happen. To live, after all, is to experience pain. The tragedy is when our reactions reinforce the wound and prevent us from learning and from growing. The tragedy is when we move from being the victim or the survivor to taking the reins so that we can continue to inflict pain on ourselves and inevitably on others. The truth is that in my own life, my reactions have been the bridge between those who have hurt me and those that I have also hurt. So, who is in need of my forgiveness, and to whom do I need to ask forgiveness? The answer to both of these questions is myself. I ask forgiveness from, and I also forgive you, Sergio, for believing in and embellishing the lies that you were told, for giving into despair and hopelessness, for not asking for help and also not knowing how to ask for help, and most of all, for hiding from yourself, hiding from those that love you, hiding from those that want to get to know you, and hiding from God. And in response to this new understanding, I commit myself to a life that courageously and persistently pursues truth, and to no longer picking up the stones that others have used against me, using them on myself, and in turn, using them on others. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. We were glad you were here before during the study, and we're even more glad that you're here now as part of this community. Thank you for your words. I promise I will try not to hide from you. On page 395, the next meditation, may we speak the truth. Sierra, would you come forward and give the drash on that now, please? Oh, there you are.
May we speak the truth. O Lord our God, many are the invasions and deceits which we practice upon others and upon ourselves. We long to speak and hear the truth only, yet in time again, we fear of loss or hope of fear gain. From dull habit or cruel deliberation, we speak half-truths. We twist facts, we silence when others lie, and we lie to ourselves. But we stand now before you, and our words and our thoughts speed one to know who knows them before we utter them. We know we cannot lie in your presence. May our worship teach us to practice truth in speech and in thought before you and before one another. Oh, I'm so nervous. Okay. When I was in middle school, I was raped by a man that was easily in his 30s. I remember first telling my mom about it, and she didn't believe me. And I don't know if she thought I was seeking attention or lying. But I remember how I felt. I felt like I didn't matter. I felt lonely, and these things weren't true. But I believed them. Ironically, I went from telling the truth and have no one believing me to telling myself lies and believing them. You're inadequate. You're not worthwhile. You're destined to be alone, and nobody loves you. These are the thoughts that became my reality. Drugs and toxic relationships became my coping mechanism, and it eventually led to me being admitted to Beit I wasn't here long before I heard Rabbi Mark talk about the lies we tell ourselves. While it triggered a lot of difficult emotions and trauma, I started to feel a sense of comfort that I wasn't alone, and a sense that slowly grew into courage to work through these issues with my treatment team. I still stand here today with fears, insecurities, and feelings of inadequacy, but I'm learning that my truth can change because it has. I am worthwhile. I am not alone, and I have friends that love me and my shortcomings, and I truly feel connected.
Thank you, Sierra. We all love you, and it's wonderful to see you becoming the woman that you were meant to be, for real. Yeah, you know? So on the next few pages, 396, 397, are meditations that help move us to the real part of this evening that we all come for, Kol Nidre, the beginning of the service. And so I'd like to invite Zach J. forward now to give us the drash on Kol Nidre. I know I saw you, Zach. There you are. Thank you, Zach.
Hi, everybody. I'm Zach Jones, grateful member of this community. Zach. Nervous member of this community. I'm going to be talking about vows this evening. My life was filled to the brim with good intentions and actions that never even came remotely close to matching them. Once I lost my way and fell full on into my drug addiction, I made an unspoken vow to myself that I was bad and worthless. As a matter of fact, it became my core belief system. I reinforced that belief system and kept that vow every day for many years. I mistreated my family, my community, and poisoned my body and spirit. Now, this vow I made was an unconscious one. I was a victim to my own selfish ignorance and fear. Years into this vow, we lost my brother, my mom became ill, and I was incarcerated. I cried out to God. I made a new vow, this time a conscious one. I said that I would be good no matter what. I would do whatever it took to live a life in recovery. When I came to Beit Shuva, I told people about my newfound plan and commitment to being good. I was informed that this was a setup for failure. That this good, bad, black and white thinking was much of what had gotten me into trouble in the first place. At first, I got excited because I thought this was an invitation to act out and to live in the shadows. I was mistaken. This was actually an invitation to live in truth. Truth meaning that I needed to recognize all the different parts of myself, the light and the dark, the gray, and everything in between. In order for my vow to translate into action that would transform my way of being, I needed to take an honest appraisal of myself and get feedback from those around me who I trusted. One of the most important lessons Rabbi Mark taught me was that I had to convert the liabilities from my addiction into assets in my recovery. I did not need to get rid of my dark side or so-called defects of character. I just needed to adjust them. The relentless drive to get drugs became the drive to learn just a little bit more every day, and the drive to carry the message of hope that I had received when I needed it the most. I vowed to take honest inventory of myself and my actions, including mistakes past and present. I vowed to own them, but not to let them define me as a whole. I have taken a vow of recovery and built a covenant with my community and with God that requires me to take the next right indicated action, to make amends, to do better in any given situation than the time before, to respond instead of react. The only thing I've done perfectly is that I haven't picked up drugs or alcohol. I've gossiped, I've behaved selfishly, I have treated others poorly, I haven't always shown up as my best self. For those things, I'm sorry. However, my core belief system now has a sense of balance. I am not the greatest thing on two legs, but I'm not all bad either. I have self-worth and value. On most days, I choose to feed my good inclinations and bring positivity into the world. And sometimes I fall short. The vow I have taken allows for that, not for the intentional disregard of others, but for the process of growth and development that requires us all to mess up, and then to say, oops, I made a mistake. I missed the mark, and here is how I plan to do better and set things right. I invite you all to renew this vow with me as we enter the new year, to embrace our humanity and our rightful place as holy souls, blessed with these imperfections, committed to living well. Thank you.
Amen. So now we're going to get into the into the main part of the beginning of the service, which is the Kol Nidre. So I'm going to call up different people. We do Kol Nidre 3 times. So here we have different people hold the Torahs. I'm going to ask everybody who can to please stand. Before everybody stands, however, I'd like to ask for the first Kol Nidre, I'd like to ask Rick and Sally to come up and hold the Torah. I'd like to ask Denny and Ann to come up and hold the Torah. And I'd like to ask Lise and Rob to come up and hold the Torah. Everybody rise now.
Kol Nidre Vesare Vacharame Vekoname Vechinuye Vechinuse Ushevu Kol Nidre Vesare Vacharame Vekoname Vechinuye Vechinose Ushevot Yom Kippurim
for the next holding of the Torahs, we need Russell, and I'd like to ask Lynn to come up. Yeah, Lynn, you. And I'd like to ask David Elston to come up, please. Russell, you take the one from Rob. Lynn, you take the one from Rick. David, you take the one from Denny. Thank you all. By the way, just so you know, we don't charge people for honors like other shuls do, but this is a big one. I mean, they get lots of money, these other shuls. Just saying, guys, I mean, I'm not trying to put the arm on you or anything. Far be it from me to ever do something like that. Okay, the second is our original. Who's doing that? The choir is doing our original. It'll be up on the screen, right? Max? Okay.
Kol Nidre Vesare Vacharame Vekoname Vechinuye Vekinuse Ushavuot
For the third Kol Nidre, I'd like to ask Steve Stabler, Ronnie and Barbara Kahn, and Cookie to come up and hold Torahs.
Take
Torahs are still being held, we say on the screen. Nope, one before that. Next. Nope, there you go. Together. And forgiveness to all the community of Israel and to the stranger in our midst, for all people have missed the mark unwittingly. Vayomer Adonai salachti kid barecha, and God said, I have forgiven as you have spoken. So here's the deal. We're going to go through the next 23 hours and we're going to do all this stuff, but really, we're already forgiven. That's the beauty. Now, we got to do all the work to earn it. So, we say the Shehekayanu. That's it. We're going to sing this. Let's sing it together. And then we'll be seated. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass the Torahs in each of the sections. Our custom here is to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to hold the Torah. We believe that once you put the Torah on your, close to you, that the letters leave the scroll and form inside on your skin and worm their way into your heart. The letters that make up the words that you need for wholeness this year. And Michael and Iggy and I will take the Torahs, and I'm going to ask Harriet to come up. Oh, Harriet's here.
Shana Tova, everybody. I feel very blessed this evening to be home for the holidays, surrounded by all of you and all the beautiful music and the beautiful sounds, and to be in our very own home. The rabbis of old and the rabbis of new in their wisdom, figured out that Kol Nidre is the best attended service of the year, and therefore the best time to make an appeal. And that is what I'm going to do. I have to confess that asking people for money is out of my comfort zone. I really prefer giving it away. But I am motivated to do this. Actually, I volunteered to do this tonight because of the critical nature of our mission. 200 people on average per day are dying of drug overdoses. Last year, some 75,000 people. The casualties were higher than the military casualties in the Vietnam and Iraq War combined, greater than car accidents. We are in the middle of an epidemic. And the statistics are staggering, but they're only part of the story. What do these numbers tell us? They tell us that people are in pain. The opioid crisis is not just about pills or drugs or opioids. Addiction is a symptom, not a disease. The opioid crisis is a response to the physical, emotional, existential, and spiritual pain of being a human being adapting to a world of disconnection, isolation, and loneliness. The former Surgeon General Vivek Marthe wrote, "During my years caring for patients, the most common pathology I saw was not heart disease or diabetes, it was loneliness." There is no psychiatric or pharmaceutical cure for loneliness and existential psychic pain, and the brain doesn't distinguish between psychic and physical pain. The solution here at Bet T'Shuvah, which was validated by the 2-year LEAP study you heard about from Sergio at UCLA, concluded that what works here is connection to community, to one another, and to the disconnected parts of ourselves. The cure for addiction is connection. The study named our model here relational recovery, and the opposite of addiction is connection, soul-to-soul connection, not role-to-role connection. The experts are battling one another out there for the answer. The right answer, is it a brain disease? Do we medicate? Do we prosecute? But a recent article in the New York Times headlined that most doctors are ill-equipped to deal with this epidemic. Few medical schools to this day teach about addiction. And once again, Bet T'Shuvah is in front of the problem. Our Elaine Breslow Institute has developed a state-of-the-art training program for med students, doctors, and clergy to teach them the Bet T'Shuvah model of interactive, integrated, relational recovery. We are uniquely qualified to spread this message to addicts seeking recovery and professionals who don't know how to treat them. We know what to do and we know how to do it, but we can't do it without help. Bet T'Shuvah's financial policy has always been to ask for you to pay only what you can afford for treatment, for temple membership, for donations. No amount is too little, and no amount is too great. Your gift will save many lives and contribute to helping someone build a life worth living. When you came in this evening, you were all given a bottle, right? Opioid crisis is the theme here. You all got your little bottle. If you will open it up, there are not drugs inside. There is a prescription inside. And the prescription is to support the Bet T'Shuvah response to the addiction epidemic in the coming year. And there are pencils taped to the back of your chairs. We have this thing together here tonight. Please take your pencil, take out your prescription, fill it out, And please pass it to the aisle where the people with baskets will be coming to pick those up. So I'm going to give you a few moments to do that. Thank you.
If you need another bottle, we have one, I'm sure, don't we? So anybody wants another bottle or something, you know, just... By the way, this was actually Nicole's idea. Yeah, and people at home, you can hit the donate button and do it yourselves too. We don't want you to feel left out. And we will send you a prescription bottle. Janice.
Gamar Chatima Tova. Over the course of these holidays, I'm Janice Kaminer-Resnick, and I'm a very grateful member of this community and chair of the board of Beit Teshuvah. Hi, Janice. Such enthusiasm. I didn't usually get that. Over the course of these holidays, we and Jews everywhere have heard and will hear the awesome Hineni prayer chanted by our cantors, who, by the way, are amazing. Fantastic. Literally, Hineni means I am here. In a literal reading of the Hineni during the high holidays, our cantor humbly begs for success in the role as emissary of the congregation in pleading for mercy on behalf of us. This prayer strikes me as odd for two reasons. One, in Judaism, we're taught that we don't need intermediaries to communicate with God. And two, even if one believed that a cantor could or should talk to God for us, how can someone else do teshuvah for us? Everyone at Beit Teshuvah knows that teshuvah is serious business and requires self-reflection, deep introspection, and the embrace of personal responsibility. It is neither an assignable task, nor is it a delegable duty. I feel that the Hineni prayer, which is considered by most to be one of the centerpiece prayers of the high holidays, is a direct reference to the stories of Abraham, Jacob, and Moses, three people in the Torah who responded to God's call with that same word, Hineni, I am here. And look at what each of them did. After Abraham said Hineni, he started a new nation. After Jacob said Hineni, he wrestled with an angel, changed his name to Yisrael, or Israel, and became father to 12 tribes. And of course, after Moses said Hineni, he led our people from slavery to freedom. All three of these men pushed far beyond their comfort zones, and in so doing, made incalculable impacts on Western civilization. My thought is that when the rabbis of the Middle Ages added a prayer called Hineni, same word as Hineni, into the high holiday liturgy, it was for one important reason, and it is a reason that speaks directly to the mission of Beit Teshuvah. They were admonishing us to take these twin notions of teshuvah and responsibility extremely seriously. We, perhaps more than any other congregation, know what it means to be serious about teshuvah and personal responsibility. I have learned so much about teshuvah from this community. It is from you, the residents, current and past, from whom I have come to more fully appreciate the complexity and depth of what it means to say hineni, to be fully present, to report for duty to God by reporting for duty through your fellow human beings, to report for duty with humility, with honesty, and with integrity. On a daily basis, our residents demonstrate bravery, courage, and strength. Beit Teshuvah is a place where everyone is always struggling to be fully present and to do teshuvah. When God called upon Abraham, he was an old man. Jacob was a deceiving son. Moses was a shy and speechless refugee from Midian, having escaped from the Egyptian palace. They were in many ways ordinary and flawed people, like all of us, but people who decided to open their eyes, to become awake to injustices and possibilities around them, and to say, yes, I am in. I am ready, willing, and able to take responsibility and to do the work. At Beit Teshuvah, our residents, our staff, our board, and our donors, which is hopefully everybody in this room, say hineni every single day. When we go to Torah study, when we attend counseling sessions and groups, when we begin the process of reconciling with family, when we overcome our anger and hurt and open our hearts to forgiveness and understanding, when we provide volunteer services to our residents, when we volunteer on a committee or on a board, when we volunteer for the choir or for the band, when we volunteer to show up each day as an intern or as an employee or as a counselor, when we come to Shabbat services, when we go to an AA meeting, and when we respond to an appeal for a donation. We are saying hineni. These are each sublime hineni moments, moments which are elevated, moments of teshuvah to be sanctified and savored. When we say hineni is when our sense of humanity and our sense of humility, our sense of human potential and our sense of hope come together in the most beautiful way. Tomorrow afternoon, we will read the story of Jonah, who might be one of the best biblical examples of someone who never seemed to be able to fully commit to hineni. He spent more time hiding and avoiding, preoccupied with self-pity and anger than he did showing up. But tomorrow morning, we read these words from Isaiah, words which give us perhaps our greatest Yom Kippur hineni moment. Isaiah said, "What I am interested in seeing you do is sharing your food with the hungry, inviting the homeless and the poor into your homes, clothing the naked, and being available to your family. Do these things and the lights will turn on and your lives will turn around. Your righteousness will pave the way. God will secure your passage. Then when you say God will answer, then when you pray God will answer, you will call out for help and God will say, hineni, I am here for you." I am honored to be a board member of Beit Teshuvah and very grateful to serve as chair of the board. On behalf of the board of directors, I want to thank this entire community for the effort you make and for the love and support you demonstrate for Beit Teshuvah, its residents, its alumni, and its mission throughout the year. Are we imperfect and full of flaws? Yes. Yep. But we are here, right? We are here reporting for duty. Tonight we stand before our community, and our community stands before God. We are earnest. We are humbly calling out for help and guidance as we keep our hearts, minds, ears, and eyes open, both to give and to receive, and above all, to be present and ready to serve. Wishing everybody here a fast which satisfies our souls and renews our commitment to hineni. Thank you.
So on page 403, we're moving right along. John's going to come up and talk about the power, every word for the sake of heaven.
Every word for the sake of heaven. Sovereign of the universe, God of mercy and compassion, may it be your will this day and every day that I guard my mouth and my tongue from stumbling into sinful speech. Keep me from the sin of gossip, as the Torah says, you shall not carry a false report. Keep me also from the sin of talebearing, as the Torah says, you shall not go about as a talebearer amongst your people. May I be careful never to speak against a single person, and surely never to speak against the house of Israel. Keep me from the grievous sin of speaking against the ways of the Holy One who is blessed. Keep me from speaking falsehood, as the Torah says. From every false matter, keep far away. Keep me from flattery, frivolity, and deception, from humiliating another human being with words. May my words be free from pride. May they never be spoken in anger. May every word that I speak and every deed I perform be uttered and done for the sake of heaven. So for 16, amen, he's right. So for 16 years, this prayer has disturbed me, because there isn't anything in this prayer that I didn't do during the past year. And every year when I would read this prayer privately during the course of our services, I would feel that guilt and shame associated with my own behavior. This year I'm disturbed, and now this prayer haunts me. This prayer haunts me because I feel this sense of loss going on in our world, in our communities, in our ability to wrestle with each other and find a common truth that we can agree on. We live in this technology era, and I don't know what's true. Harriet, by the way, Rabbi, Harriet, Janice, then me, I forgive you.
Harriet set the order, so forgive her.
We live in this technology, this period of technology, and I don't know what to believe, and I don't know what's true, and I don't know who's telling the truth, and I don't know how to fact check, right? Like, what is this thing, fact checking? Where? Where do I go? Where do I find it? You know, my experience has been that I find it here in this community. Beit Shuvah has been, for me, the center, the rock, the place that I could come and I could wrestle through ideas, and I could wrestle through discrepancies, and I could wrestle with this stuff in a way that I could find a common voice, a common ground, and a way to proceed with my life. And then I go out into the world, and I'm truly finding myself lost as to how to talk, how to speak. Does truth even matter? Because we talk about facts and facts and facts, and they come and they come and they come. And as Harriet so beautifully described, the facts don't tell the story. Right? Was it 18 people that died in Puerto Rico, or was it 3,000? Or did 3.5 million people live in horror for months unattended? What happened there? We count numbers, we add, we subtract, we look for all these facts. What Harriet hit on is a lack of humanity, the lack of decency, and the lack of humility that all of this brings to us, this constant barrage of what my truth is. What I committed, there's a line we use around here at Beit Shuvah regarding your feelings. I'll clean it up a little. We suggest to people that you don't act on your feelings, that you feel something about your actions. Don't act on your feelings, feel something about your actions. The end of this prayer, may every word that I speak and every deed I perform be uttered and done for the sake of heaven. My commitment this year is to spend more energy, instead of looking outside, but to make sure that there's congruence between the words that I speak and the actions that I take, and paying attention to those two. Gemara Hatima Tova. Thank you.
That way. Okay, please rise on page 408 for the Borachu. Please be seated. On the screen, you'll see the Ahavat Olam.
Let us put this Torah away for a second, if you don't mind. Thank you for letting us do that. That's really incredibly special to pass that around. I do hope everybody was able to connect with it at some level. It is what the last prayer, Havat Olam, is all about love, eternal love. And the end of the blessing is Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael, the one who loves his people Israel. This is about love. This whole day is about love. And here we are. Time for the Shema. Paul, you're doing a drash here to take us into the Shema. Please come on up.
Thank you, thank you, Rabbi. When I was asked to do, if I would do a little drash on a prayer, I too said Hineni, in the long line of people, and maybe unfortunately I said Hineni, because I didn't know which one I got, so I got the Shema, the kind of a biggie, right? I figured I'd just get a little prayer maybe, so I got the Shema. Let me see if I can get it up here. I mean on my iPhone. Okay, so, the Shema prayer didn't mean much to me when I grew up. Rabbis always described it as the watchword of our faith, but of course they never said what that meant, and I didn't know. I figured every faith probably had a watchword. This was ours. As much as I could take from it, I guess I understood it as a historical sense of monotheism, the basis of the Jewish religion. And then I heard Harmon last week, he said that, the past history is the past, tomorrow is a mystery, we have today as a gift, and that's why we call it the present. So I tried to think, does the Shema mean anything in the present today? Does it speak to me in any way today? And when I thought about it, I decided that apart from its historical value, the Shema continues to occupy, it deserves to occupy the center square of prayer. And that's for all you Hollywood Squares fans out there. Because when the Shema says God is one, to me that means that the reverse also has to be true. If God equals one, then one equals God. Of course, so the Shema to me reminds me that each of us in this room and everywhere else is God. Now, not the supreme Torah God. We cannot smite idolaters, cause earthquakes, or droughts. We can't even park anywhere near Bet Teshuvah. Of course, that probably would have been true for the Torah God, too. So to me, the Shema's message that each of us is God means that we matter because we are each the God of our own actions. Just like the Torah God acted to choose life by freeing the Jews from slavery, we each matter because we can emulate God by choosing life through our actions. And only through our actions, because God does not equal two. We can only act for ourselves. The Shema's message is reflected in a teaching of Rabbi Zusia that I came across while I was writing You Matter with Rabbi Mark. And his little teaching always stayed with me, and not just because Zusia's spelling might come in handy during a game of words with friends. Rabbi Zusia taught, when I go to heaven, the angels won't ask me, why weren't you more like Moses? They will ask, why weren't you more like Zusia? These words remind us that we each matter in a way that is uniquely ours. On a more personal level, Andrea and I have learned through our experiences at Bet Teshuvah that we choose life when we help others understand that they matter. A few years ago, we proposed an externship program to Rabbi Mark. Our idea was that when Bet Teshuvah residents had sufficient recovery to work outside the house, Bet Teshuvah could help them find part-time jobs for which they would be compensated with funds donated to the externship program. We told Rabbi Mark that our main concern was that a new program might detract from the wonderful other Bet Teshuvah programs. Rabbi Mark, however, embraced the program enthusiastically. We always remember he said that if it saves one life, it's worth it. Today, thanks to the Bet Teshuvah staff and donors, the externship program continues to help residents learn that they matter. Beyond each of us individually, the Shema speaks to communities like Bet Shuvah. As the God of its actions, Bet Shuvah matters and chooses life as a community. Step 2 of AA's 12-step program refers to a power greater than, not higher than, greater than ourselves. I am grateful to be part of a community that is a greater power that matters in ways that none of us can individually. As you see from the prayer book, the Shema is joined at the hip with the V'ahavta. In one of the versions of the V'ahavta in the Torah comes a threatening God who demands loyalty and praise. If we show God the love, we'll have the right amount of rain and plenty to eat. But if we disobey God's anger will blaze against us. No rain, skinny cattle, no crispy Brussels sprouts with balsamic vinegar. This was the coercive God of my youth. Life under the Torah God seemed like an endless series of have-tos. Contrarian that I am, I turned virtually all of them into don't have-tos. Coercion may work for some, and it may bring some of us through the doors of Bet Shuvah, but it is unlikely to keep many of us here. The Shema prayer works through attraction rather than coercion. When we choose life through our actions, have-tos become get-tos. We get to be at services. We don't have to be here. We get to hold ourselves accountable for what we've done well and where we've missed the mark. I don't have to talk about the Shema. I get to talk about it. And while during Yom Kippur we may ask God to forgive our sins, the Shema reminds us that we are asking forgiveness from an often harsher judge, ourselves, and that when we choose life through our actions, we get to forgive ourselves. Sergio, I think we're on the same page there. The ultimate gift of the Shema is to remind us that each of us equals one, our community equals one, and our world equals one. When we take right actions and make amends for our mistakes, we help create a more compassionate and just world. So as the God of your actions, enjoy the gift of the Shema daily by asking yourself, how do I get to choose life today? Thank you.
Amen. So we go to the Shema. Thank you, Paul, on page 412. And there are two Shemas we're doing. The first one is a Shema chant. We ask you all to join in. Laura?
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam
So Dina's coming forward to give the next drash, which is going to be bottom of 416. The fringes are the sign. I'm going to ask those of you who have a tallis on, grab your tzitzis. That's what this is about. I mean, if you have them, I want you to grab them and be aware of them as Adina does the draw.
Hi, my name is Adina, and I'm a grateful member of this community. So, tzitzis, in other words, fringes, are a garment which many Jews wear, some daily, some not. The gematria, or numerical value of tzitzis, comes out to be 613, which is the number of commandments that were given to the Jewish people. These are supposed to serve as a reminder to us of God and of our submission to his 613 commandments. This idea really struck me as a beautiful one. But the fringes are like a physical item that we actually wear, a tangible reminder which to me is just as important as like the godly sentiments that we hold in our hearts when we think of, the 613 commandments. I was raised in an ultra-Orthodox community where my life revolved around strict rules disguised as God's will. I was expected to look up to and listen to rabbis who were involved in terrible things. I was taught to pray for hours, but forbidden from questioning any of these prayers. Until I arrived at Beit Shuvah, my life was filled with intentions, but absolutely no plan of action. I was consumed with constant anger and confusion. I didn't know who I was, and I had no idea how to change. What I began to observe inside this facility baffled me and shook my old ideas to their very core. I saw people living lives of integrity, people who cared, people who embodied godliness. I began to learn that just like tzitzis are a reminder of our commitment to God, I too needed reminders of my ability to do better, let go of my past, and live my life in integrity. My reminders come in many forms. Gratitude is a big one for me. I find that when I stay in gratitude, I'm reminded of how far I've come and how capable I am of continual growth. Helping others serves as a constant reminder to me as well, which I get to do a lot as an employee here. It reminds me how to show love and tolerance no matter the case, which is not something that comes easily to me. I have the privilege of witnessing the light come on in the eyes of somebody slowly recovering. All these things serve as reminders to me that I have the opportunity to live a little bit better each day and every day and grow closer to God. As we enter into a very holy day of introspection, I invite everyone to not only carry God in our hearts, but consider what actions we can take to truly become reflections of him. Gemar Chasima Tova.
Thank you, Adina. You are awesome, and thank you for reminding us that we need reminders. And so we're reminded with this next song that we do every day in normal prayer, the Micha Mocha, is that because of God's love, God rescued the Jewish people and rescues us every day. Rescued us in the evening, we ask God to save us at night. and think about the end times as well. So for the Hashkivenu Kavanah Rhonda, I'd ask you to come up now. The Hashkivenu can be read in Hebrew on 420 or 421. We'll follow with the choir doing the Hashkivenu.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Snyder, and I'm a very grateful member of this community. My prayer is Hashkivenu. Help us, O God, to lie down in peace and to awaken us to life on the morrow. May we always be guided by your good counsel and thus find shelter in your tent of peace. Shield us, we pray, against our foes, against plague, destruction, and sorrow. Strengthen us against the evil forces which abound on every side. May we always sense your care, for you are our merciful sovereign. Guard us always and everywhere. Bless us with life and peace. Praise to you, O God of peace, whose love is always with us, who shelters your people Israel and protects Jerusalem in love. The word that speaks to me in this prayer is peace, since it's mentioned 4 times. It asks God to help us lie down in peace. I know that it's important to cultivate a sense of peace within ourselves, or our minds are filled with endless chatter, which results in mental anguish, and our bodies will be tied up in knots, which creates physical pain and illness. I know this because all my life I was a worrier, a nervous person filled with anxiety, fear, and a stomachache. It didn't help much when our son Adam was going through his 12 years of active addiction and the craziness we experienced in our family. Until one day in 2007, my dear friend Terry Elston asked me to go with her on her annual 5-day silent meditation retreat. She'd been actually asking me for about 8 or 10 years, and I finally said yes. I was naturally nervous and didn't know how I'd be able to not talk for 5 days and to sit in meditation for 45 minutes 8 times a day. But I went. Needless to say, it was life-changing. When I came home, I began my daily meditation practice and noticed after about 3 weeks that a shift started taking place. When I was presented with a stressful situation, I was now able to view it without that knot in my stomach. I also noticed that I could pause before speaking instead of just blurting out the first thing that came into my mind. Well, this was truly an amazing gift. I couldn't believe the changes that were happening within me. I wanted to share this gift, so in 2008, I became a certified meditation teacher to help others find their inner peace. I learned how meditating daily actually changes the structure and neural pathways of our brains, and I was experiencing this for myself. I became able to wait, to pause, well, most of the time. There's a well-known quote by Viktor Frankl, who was a psychiatrist and a Holocaust survivor. He wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, and his quote is this: "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. Within that space is our ability to choose our response. Within our response lies our growth and our freedom." Yes, I felt a new sense of inner peace, which gave me a new sense of freedom. A few weeks after that meditation retreat, I attended my first parent-focused Al-Anon meeting and have been working my Al-Anon program for these past 11 years. We have an acronym in Al-Anon which also refers to this pause. It's WAIT, why am I talking? Which comes in handy at times. I expanded my daily practice to include prayer and gratitude. Gratitude is nourishment for my soul. I say thank you throughout the day for all the blessings in my life and to acknowledge them. My meditation practice became most helpful to me during the many difficult years of our son Adam's addiction. There was a time when he was living on Skid Row, and our younger son, Ryan, became Orthodox, moved to Israel to study in yeshiva, and told us he planned to live there permanently. He stayed there for 2 years. During this period of time, when people would ask about our kids, I used to say, well, one turned left, one turned right, and neither one stayed on Main Street with Brad and I. I also remember during this time that Rabbi Mark told me that if I knew where Adam was, that they would go and pick him up. That meant so much to me. Thank you, Rabbi. I thanked him with all my heart, but I said no. I knew that Adam needed to want to come back here. When I had fearful thoughts about him and didn't know if he was dead or alive, I knew I needed to change my thinking. I'd heard it said that worry is negative prayer. It's praying for what we don't want. So every morning, I'd look at his picture, and I'd tell him I believed in him. And I would visualize him here on this bima taking his 1-year cake. I would visualize what he looked at, what he looked like, what he was saying, and that he was healthy and happy. and then I'd give this vision to God, and I'd let go, and I'd get back to my own life. After about 2 weeks of this practice, he decided to come back here. Our son Ryan came back from Israel for his brother's 1-year cake. He decided not to be Orthodox anymore and to stay in LA. Since then, I've been able to visualize, to watch and witness my visualization come to life 5 times on this bima for Adam's 5 sober birthdays. Our 2 sons actually lived together for the past 3 years until recently. They've created a strong bond with each other. Our family is healthy, happy, and closer than ever. Truly a miracle. I've learned to cherish life one day at a time and to remember that no matter how difficult a situation may be, we never know what's around the corner. There's always the possibility of positive change and to always remain hopeful. I also realized that most of my fears came from worrying about the future, things that might happen, that could happen, and that probably never would happen. Things I just created fears in my own mind. Our Al-Anon reading says that it's just as likely for a positive outcome as a negative one, and there's no reason to put more emphasis on the negative. What if everything worked out? I learned to gain a sense of peace by thinking about manna. Our Torah says when the Jews left Egypt and were traveling through the desert, they needed food. And every morning there was manna on the ground, and they could gather enough for 1 day. And on Shabbat, they could gather enough for 2 days because we don't work on Shabbat. And if they took more than they would needed, it would rot. So I use this story as a lesson in my daily life that God gives me, provides me with everything I need for today, and tomorrow there will be manna. When we create peace within ourselves, that energy radiates beyond us and can be felt by others. So let's make ripples of peace. I'd like to close with my daily prayer for peace. May there be peace in our minds, peace in our hearts, peace in our homes, peace in our families, peace in all our relationships, peace in our communities, our city, our state, our country, and this world. May there be freedom for all people and for love to cover this earth as the air we breathe, for Israel and all Jews to be safe and united, for Mashiach to come, and for all people to be safe, living in unity, love, and harmony. Amen. Thank you.
Matzilenu, ata, ata. Ki eshomrenu, Matzilenu, ata, ata.
While Mindy's coming forward for the next drosh, we jump to page 451 and 450 as we look at the words of Kihine Bachomet.
Hello, my name is Mintha, and I'm a grateful member of this community.
Hi, Mintha.
Hello. Harriet, where's Harriet? Harriet. You said that asking for money is not in your comfort zone, and being on a stage is not in mine. And I am grateful, very grateful to be here. We are in your hand. You are the creator, dear God, and you are the creator, dear God, and we are your creation. The song is an invitation to return to our spiritual home, the essence from which we are one. It is a reminder that when I am in alignment in mind, body, and spirit, I open myself up to be a vessel for your divine light, love, and teachings, to continue learning, growing, and to remain flexible and open so that I may more closely be a reflection of your love. It means continuing the internal work through prayer, meditation, holy relationships, and seeing with reverence all that emanates from your being. God, you know I will stray and fall and forget and fear and become rigid. But you, God, are only one thought away, a conscious shift in awareness, a reminder to surrender, to accept, to let go or know when to hold on, and to willingly step back and ask you to lead the way, as I am the clay and you, my potter. When I find myself struggling and wrestling with doubt, pride, fear, or judgment, and invite the sacred back in, I continually find pause and awe in this space, a moment's reprieve to come back to my center. This song reflects an extension of life force, his eternal presence upon us, and his highest guide in our journey towards wholeness. Spiritual teacher Marianne Williamson once wrote, "There is only one true drama in life, your walk away from God and your journey back. It is in the forgetting that I experience limitation, separation, isolation, and otherness. And it is when I remember and connect that I experience love, faith, hope, courage, and the courage to face life when life on life's terms appears chaotic and overwhelming. Our relationship with God mirrors that of all relationships, which remind us to forgive and ask for forgiveness and redemption, to offer a pathway back towards reconnection and recovery of the sacred and to a higher truth. We are all reminders for one another, all reminders to honor each other's light, to choose to be open to God's grace, and to allow for the gift of being a messenger of love through seeking our truth. My choosing love over fear, choosing love in action over my fears of expressing my heart openly with truth and love for our community, is just one small expression of staying open and remaining present and engaged in my life today with purpose, meaning, commitment, and community. Thank you.
We continue with Kihine Kachomer, the original that was written. Who wrote this one? Rebecca Mirsky. Cantor Rebecca Mirsky. You can join in, too.
Like a potter's piece of clay, like the mystery of a new day, like the thread in the hands of a weaver. Your miracles make me a believer. We are in your hands. We are in your hands. We are in your hands.
Like a gardener's hopeful seeds, you promise our hearts to feed. Like the stones in the hands of a mason, the beginning of its creation. We are in your hands. We are in your hands. We are in your hands.
Your grace saves us.
Your righteousness defines us.
Your love
Creates us. You fill us with your kindness.
like a potter's piece of clay, like the mystery of a new day. In my days I must remember what I promised you last September.
We are in your hands. We are in your hands. We are in your hands. Kine kahomer, be'ar yotzer. Kine
So one of my favorite prayers is Adonai, Adonai. We're going to do it in a minute, but first Heather is going to come up and speak about it. She knows about this prayer. This is actually my daughter, for those of you who don't know. My darling daughter, Heather.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Heather, and I'm a grateful member of this community. Hi, Heather. Just have to take a second. So, this prayer, Adonai, Adonai, El Rahum Vehanun, Ere Apayim Verav Hesed Ve'emet, Notzer Hesed Lalafim, Nose Avan Vafesha vehata venake. It's the 13 attributes of God. Basically, the prayer talks about God's mercy, God's compassion. God is slow to anger and gracious. God is sympathetic to the human condition and does not give people more than they can handle. God eases the punishment of the guilty and shows mercy even to those who may not deserve it. God has loving kindness and errs on the side of the good in a person. God is truth and always remains in partnership with us. God forgives sins, transgressions, and inequities. God pardons those who are truly repentant and wipes the slate clean. So I don't think it's a coincidence that I received this prayer for Kol Nidre, and not just because he loves it too. The truth is that I love this prayer, and I've loved it for many, many years. This prayer broke through walls I had put up and softened a very hardened heart many years ago, even before I was able to maintain long-term sobriety. Since then, this prayer has provided me with solace that promises unkept would be absolved, like the year that my mom had her stroke and I couldn't take care of her at home like I had always promised. But this year, as I dig deeper into my recovery and explore my life in a way I've never really dreamed imaginable, I've discovered that I have so much fear that I'm in some way unforgiven or worthy of punishment. I'm going to go off script a little bit because the truth is that this prayer moves me, and that's what prayer is supposed to do. And I don't know why on Kol Nidre it moves me more than any other time that we say the prayer. I don't know why this particular prayer moves me other than it gives me, the prayer is that God's already forgiven me. The truth is the gate's open, I'm there. I have to walk through the gate. And the reality is me saying this prayer and me giving myself to this prayer is me walking through a gate where God's saying, come in. It's always been about God saying, come in to me. It's never been about God leaving me. It's always been me judging me, me feeling as though I'm not worthy of, I'm not eligible for, any of those things that I have always felt. And, you know, as I was writing it and as I was thinking about this year and feeling unworthy and ineligible for some of the wonderful things that, you know, I'm embarking on in my life, I thought about I should be further, right? So I go to that other place. I should be further. I'm coming up on 11 years of sobriety, right? So I should be able to see this prayer. Thank you. I should be able to know that God loves me, right? And I should have that somewhere internalized and this and all of these shoulds and all of these things. And God's over here going, hey, Heather, I love you. And you're good enough just the way you are. And this prayer, when we sing it and we yell it and we scream it and we whisper it and we do all of the crazy things that this man's about to have you do, it's just like, there's something about it. I mean, I get it with the Kol Nidre, but I get it with this where I just feel like, okay, for a minute, I'm aligned with God. For those however many minutes, I'm there and I'm going, okay, I'm walking through the gates and I'm here and I'm ready to be a partner with you. And my prayer is that as we walk through the gates together and as we do this, that we get those little moments and that we get the moments that we can hold on throughout the year when all of the other chatter comes in, because the truth is I have the worry and all of the chatter that I think many of us probably have in this room. And it's remembering this prayer even when we're not sitting in a community of worship. It's remembering it in my daily life and acting as the child of God that I am. So thank you.
All right. So, on page 454, I think it is, right? Yes. Let's everybody stand up and do this prayer. It's up on the screen too. We gotta... Come on, let's go. Let's bring it in. let's hear you.
He hates being part of anything that wants him, so let's really bring him in. So that Harry will join us too. So we're going to go out of order. I'm telling the crew so that they know. This is going to be my sermon for tonight. My sermon for tonight and tomorrow, my sermons for tonight and tomorrow are all about hope, tshuva, and spirit. The human being is uniquely graced with the ability to search the soul and reflect. For what purpose am I alive? Every person moves in two domains. In the domain of nature and in the domain of the spirit. Half slave, half divine. We are bound by the laws of nature, but at the same time, able to subdue and dominate them. These words by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel from the book Moral Grandeur and Spiritual Audacity in his essay, Pekuach Neshama, to Save a Soul, were written in 1949. And they've never been more important to me, to us, than now. We're living in perilous times. And we all need to remember and use our ability to search our souls and reflect. We're in desperate need to save our souls, the souls of our fellow Jews, our neighbors,
in the country and in the world. The world has always alternated between looking to the future with excitement and looking to the past with desperate yearning. Vacillated between tyranny and freedom, hope and fear. Fear is primal, according to my rabbi and my teacher, Rabbi Edward Feinstein, and happened to Adam and Eve when they hid from God after eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What I believe they, Adam and Eve, discovered after eating the fruit was that within both of them was negativity, and they became afraid of it. They became afraid of how strong a pull that negativity had on them. When we have the same experience as Adam and Eve, we too hide. From this hiding, our fear is increased and becomes unhealthy. Unhealthy fear is the result of seeing ourselves and knowing that we're not the best, that we have flaws that others may be able to see and even use against us. Unhealthy fear, in my opinion, is the basis of hate, control, judgmentalness, need for power, need to win. When we're in unhealthy fear of being found out, as Adam and Eve were, we hide who we are from anyone and everyone who only want to see us, to see the real us. Those we especially hide from in this unhealthy fear. Yet, we are able to subdue and dominate our negative impulses and return to God, to good, to self. As the prophet Hosea teaches, God's love for Israel is ineradicable, according to Rabbi Heschel in his book on the prophets. God has never given up on people because God loves us. In chapter 14 of Hosea, we learn, return Israel to the Lord your God, for you have stumbled in your iniquity. Yet we still don't believe in God's love, nor do we believe we're lovable when we make mistakes. We're afraid of truth, and we're living lives based in fear, just like Adam and Eve did. We're in a cycle of cynicism, hatred, conservatism, and fear. All of these are being used to control and promote a ruling class of people who use these traits and emotions to overcome their own fear of being found out. These people say they speak in the name of faith in God, yet none of my Christian friends, nor many of my Jewish friends, see or hear or recognize our faith in God and the actions of a few who want to dominate the news cycle, the political sphere, the business world, the private world of individuals, and the religious faith of America. These people use these tactics to subdue and dominate others, a country in the name of God, rather than use God's love to subdue and dominate their Yetzer Haras, their negative impulses. This is a violation of the third commandment, thou shalt not take the name of God in vain. Yet these people say America is a Christian nation. They say that the current administration is put here by God. God wants men to control women's bodies and hates LGBTQ people, according to these charlatans. How ungodly. So, Rabbi, where's the hope? Tshuva in spirit. I'm getting there. Tonight begins the day we call Yom Kippur, day of cleansing, day of atonement, day of at-one-ment. Yet how can we immerse ourselves in all these joyful experiences when we're living as half slave rather than half divine? We're going to say the prayer of Avinu Malkeinu, which translates to our parent, our sovereign. This means, as I have said before many times, that we are children of the sovereign. We are princes and princesses. We are royalty, and yet we act as slaves. Seems strange to me. Both ends of the political spectrum are trying to enslave us and think that only they have the answer. Yet, as God said to Cain, sin, negativity couches at our door. It desires us much, and we can master it. When we think we're always right, when we can never admit mistakes, because that shows weakness. Why bother being here or at any worship service of any spiritual discipline? Hell, what need is there for a spiritual discipline when we're satisfied with how we act and who we are? Yet many of us sitting here in shuls all over the world and in churches, temples, mosques, think we're immune to the prayers. They don't apply to us. Just like there's a different law for people of status and the plebeians as it was in antiquity. Of course, that doesn't happen here in 21st century America. Chas v'chalila. The next 23 hours are for us to reflect and search our souls. It's for us to recognize our deep soul need for connection to God, to our families, our friends, our enemies, and our strangers. We can do this. How? Simple. Not easy. We have to remember that the very existence of a Jew is a spiritual act, as Rabbi Heschel teaches. Our very coming into being was a rebellion, and our longevity is a testament to our resilience and our commitment to our covenant with God. We may stray as Hosea's wife did. She was a harlot, by the way, and he was supposed to divorce her. Yet he took her back at least once. Some say because God told him to. Others say because he was acting God-like. By taking back his unfaithful wife, just as God takes back Israel after Israel's unfaithful to God. Yet God is waiting for each and every one of us. We may forget our covenant. We may resort to cynicism and where's mine. And God waits for us to return. Being here tonight for each and every one of us is our action of returning to God. We now annul the vows from the previous year because we know that sometimes we just say stuff to get the heat off. We annul our vows because at the moment of the Kol Nidre, we admit we haven't done all we could in the past year. And we see the error of our ways. We ask for forgiveness from God tonight and tomorrow because we know we can't hide every day. In some ways, Kol Nidre is our coming out of the closet, night and experience. All of us stand or sit, having the same experience as Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and the same experience as Cain. We're hiding. God is calling to us in love and with love. It's us who cannot believe God will take us back after we have been unfaithful, because it's so hard for us to overcome the fear, anger, and disappointment when someone is unfaithful to us, or we believe they have been unfaithful to what we expected and wanted from them. Our cynicism and fear want us to repair the way things look, fixing the outer skin while ignoring our inner essence. Rabbi Heschel goes on to say, how true is this for all of us? We want to look good and make things on the outside, home, car, spouse, significant other, job, title, etc. Scream out how successful we are, all the time ignoring the call of our soul and our inner life because we don't want to see our flaws and our true selves. And tonight, we will admit them all. And I wonder how many of us actually pay attention to the call of our soul, to the call of God, even to the call of those closest to us, who are in the dilemma of wanting the outside clothing and seeing us drift farther and farther away from the inner being and soul that they love and fell in love with. This is the challenge of Yom Kippur. We come to shul, some of us just for this day, while many of my colleagues, and me, to be in full disclosure, lament the 3-day-a-year Jew. I find great hope that you're here. I'm overjoyed that we're all here together to hear the admissions of guilt, the recognitions of strength, and the desire for connection to Judaism, God, family, community, and self. I find this is a statement of hope. Hope is spiritual, according to Rabbi Feinstein. I believe it comes from God and from our deep inner voice. This is our declaration of hope. For the nihilist, for the agnostic, for the one who feels separate, for all of us, being here and praying together is a powerful action of hope. That life does matter. We all matter, and we can change. In being here tonight, we're telling the world and ourselves that chaos will not rule. People who push the agenda of chaos will not prevail. And even more so, we Jews are commanded to transform chaos into creation and light, as God did in the opening verses of Genesis. In being here tonight, we're declaring that the destroyers of good will not win. By being here tonight, we're committing ourselves to our covenant with God, with our families, with our community. We're committing ourselves to the covenant that was made at Sinai, and we're renewing it tonight. Being here tonight promises that we are living and will continue to live our covenant through tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah. Being here tonight is recovenanting to God's command to care for the stranger, the widow, the poor, and the orphan in our midst and in ourselves. Being here tonight is calling out to those around us and to the depths of our souls that we will live better in 57-79 than we did in 57-78. There is hope I see. I ask you to live it with me by committing to experience, respect, and connect with the soul in every human being without regard to their race, color, religion, political views, and gender. In doing this, we lead recovery and we bring it to the streets, we bring it to the world. In doing this, we live Jewishly and we bring Judaism to the world. We can do it. I beg you. I plead with you. I commit to you to respect and connect with each and every soul, with the spirit in every human being, without regard to politics, without regard to race, without regard to religion, without regard to gender. Do you join me? Yes. Do you join me? Yes. Do you join me? Yes. Gemar Chatima Tova.
Thank you, Rabbi, and we commit to be with you as well. And so at this time, let me ask Richie K to come up to do our drosh to get ready for the Ashamnu. You can turn to page 462 while he's coming up here.
Excuse me, we did this wrong, okay? We're supposed to turn to page 461, Kianu Amecha. I did a song in between because I didn't want somebody to have to follow me, tell you the truth.
Okay. Keanu
And then
Amecha.
Susan comes next, so you just sit down. Go ahead, let's do
All
it.
right.
It's on the screen,
Keanu.
Kianu Amecha. It'll be on the screen. 460 something.
Kianu Amecha Ve'ata Eloheinu Anu Vanecha Ve'ata Tavinu Anu Avatecha Ve'ata Adonenu Anu Ve'alecha Ve'ata Elkeinu Anu Nachlatecha Ve'ata Goralenu Anu Zonecha Ve'ata Roeinu Anu Karmecha Ve'ata Nodreinu Anu Hulatecha Ve'ata Yotreinu Anu Rayatecha Ve'ata Dodeinu Anu Skulatecha Ve'ata Geroveinu Anu Amecha Ve'ata Malkeinu Anu Mamirecha Ve'ata Mamireinu Lai 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 Lai
So now Susan comes up and gets us ready for the Shema Kol Nidre, page 458. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah. Good evening. I know that's a hard act to follow, the rabbi. And I would like to say, when Rabbi Mark asked me to do a drosh, when you asked me to do a drosh, I was very excited and very honored to do so. So here I go on Shema Kol Nidre. It's a prayer, more like a poem, that is very ancient from the 16th century. And it always happens on Kol Nidre. And the reason that I found this poem so important is because it's a poem that comes from the people, the community. It is all about asking us to do something. The community is asking God to do something. We are not asking God to do something for us. We are asking God to make sure that we go along with him, that we go along with her into the next year, the next spiritual place, and that would be being inscribed in the book of life. At least that's how I interpret it. And so to me, if somebody is asking to not be forsaken, to not be forgotten, to me that's a sign of hope. And that seems to be a theme tonight. This particular poem makes me feel like that there is a future. And there was a time in my life, not that long ago, when I didn't feel so much hope. In fact, I felt very hopeless. And I reached out to the community, and that community at that time was my Al-Anon community. And I see many of my Al-Anon people here today. And those people listened to me, because this poem is talking about hearing. Please hear me, God. Please hear us, and make sure that you do not distance yourself from us. And when I needed someone to hear me, my Al-Anon people did hear me. And they helped me, and they carried me through, so that now today, nearly 3.5 years later, I stand before you with lots of hope. Hope for the next year, hope for all of the world, hope for my family. As I wrote this, each time I thought, okay, I get it now. I have the perfect thing I'm going to say. And then I had to look at myself and say, okay, Susan, you always want it to be perfect, and it's just perfect exactly the way it is in all its imperfections. And so what I say to you in that is that as a member of this community that asks, just like the community was asking God in this prayer, I ask this community to remember that we all have hope, and that as a community, especially Beit Teshuvah community, you have provided so much for people and so much hope for the future. And I believe that it's the power of that hope that compels the community towards God. Why else would people be asking God if to not forsake them? And that reminds me of the concept that we look to God as a spiritual guide, someone who takes us from place to place, whatever God looks like to you or to me. And so I've learned that about myself. I used to say that God was my dog. And today I say, someone asked me not too long ago, does God provide you with spiritual guidance? And if not, what does? And the answer that is true for me is that what drives me is my connection to my community. And you, Beit Teshuvah, have become my community. Each and every time I come here, I get something from you, and hopefully I give you something back. So I hope that we all have a prosperous year, prosperous in our love, in our health, in our home, in our desires, not looking at our pocketbooks, but that other kind of renewed currency, that currency of love and care. So thank you. Shana Tova.
Now we're going to do the original Shema Kol Nidre that was written by who? Laura.
Hear us, hear us, hear our voices. Have compassion, take us back. Receive us with acceptance and favor. Please take us back. Hear us. Hear us. Hear our voices. Return us to you, God. Don't send us back to times of old when our strength failed us. You don't turn away. You don't let us go. You don't let us go. You don't send us back. You don't send us back. give us your breath of holiness, and we will return anew. You don't turn away. You don't let us go. You don't let us go. You don't send us back. You don't send us back. 'Cause you know the truth. Hear us. Hear us. Hear our voices.
Okay, for those of you who are wondering, we have about 3 prayers left, and then we'll be done. You know, when all these drashes have been so great that, you know, you can't really, that's the thing, is that we say 2 minutes, and, you know, 2 minutes is different to everybody, right? I thought my sermon was about 5 minutes. So, you know, it's just that everybody, all the teaching and learning, Richie's coming up to give us some more. Then we're going to do the Oshamnu. Then Heidi's going to come up and give us a drash on the Al Chet, the long confessional. We'll do that, and then we'll do the Kaddish. And we'll go home till tomorrow morning.
Hi, everyone. I'm Richie. I'm a grateful member of this community. This prayer is a little heavy. I'm usually searching for metaphors. There's not a whole lot to unpack on this one. It's really, as I had in Yom Kippur, how have I fallen short? Rabbi teaches me to look for the things I've done right. So how have I improved upon myself just a little bit more this year? My credit score went up a few points. This is huge, right? You know what I'm talking about. I've been taking my dog on longer walks because she's fat and she needs exercise. I noticed, you know, I look people in the eye, which is something I never did years ago when I'm talking to them. I've actually noticed that when I'm sitting across from somebody at a table, I put my phone away in my pocket. Okay. Who knew that would get the applause? It's true. Yeah, you like that? Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Why can't you? Years ago, everything I did or everything that I said was, or everything that I wished for was not to improve upon myself, but to improve upon my situation. How do I make use of this person standing in front of me, you know, so that I can live more comfortably? What can you do for me? How can I take so that I can have more? Rabbi Heschel says our sense of what is right and wrong may be at times uncertain. What is indubitably certain is our sense of obligation to answer for our conduct. So who can I be accountable to as we go into the new year? Yes, on a day-to-day basis, I can make myself accountable to the people in my community, to my friends, people in my program, but ultimately I must be accountable to God because He's the absolute. He's the one that we are a reflection of. But the twist is that God must always remain and will always be a mystery. You know, it's something that can't be fully understood. Though to me, this is the act of transcendence, right? This is a goal of mine to trust in that mystery, allowing us to be a reflection of what God has to offer, while still knowing that I'll never fully understand it. And God offers us awe, wonder, amazement. So what do we do with it? How do we answer back? Heschel also says, religion begins with a consciousness that something is asked of us. He says it's in that moment that the soul is caught. And I love this idea that the soul is caught, is captured. Like my whole life there was this soul swimming near my head, and I was just like too dumb to even recognize it. And then I like caught it, like with a butterfly net or something. Right? So now that I have it, how do I proceed? I work on myself so that I can show up for others. I show up for others so that I can be a better version of myself. And this is a day-to-day thing. And guess what? I fail. Sometimes I fail. All the time I fail, right? So I fall short. I fall short of recognizing moments of insight. I let them pass by. I don't use them to feed my soul. In Alcoholics Anonymous, we're taught to strive towards progress and not perfection. Here at Beit Shuva, we're taught that if we can push one grain of sand closer to our goal of being better sons, daughters, community members, friends, then we're looking down the right path. So after years of confusion, my entire life, essentially, it's slowly become clear to me that this is pretty simple. It's which path am I looking down? I can either stare down the path I've known for years, the path of instant gratification, the path where, the one I'm really good at, where I do not so great things that make me feel good temporarily, or the other path, the path that I'm not totally familiar with still, the one that takes time and effort and requires some looking inside myself, searching my soul instead of my outer layers, the one that requires a trust in God. And it's funny because even with all that work, right now standing here, that seems like the easier path to me. Thanks.
Okay, if we please rise on page 462. I'm going to say Ashamnu, and then you repeat after me. We tap our chest just to remind ourselves. We don't have to beat ourselves. Ashamnu. Bagadnu. Gazalnu. Dibarnu Dofi. Havinu. Vihirshanu. Zadnu. Hamasnu. Tofalnu Sheker. Yatsnu Ra. Kizabnu. Lotsnu. Morardnu. Niatsnu. Sorarnu. Avinu. Poshanu. Tsorarnu. Kishinu Oref. Rashanu. Shichasnu. Tiavnu. Tainu. Titanu. Please be seated. Heidi.
Hi, I'm Heidi, a very proud board member. Hi. Hi. So this is Al-Het, the multitude of our sins. This is also a very light one. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read a little bit to give some preface, because then I go into the whole other thing. We have sinned against you by hardening our hearts, by speaking perversely, by corrupt speech, by evil thoughts, insincere confession, intentionally and unintentionally desecrating your name. Forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. By foolish talk, knowingly and unknowingly, by bribery, by slander, eating and drinking, by false pride. So I know I'm repeating a lot of what has been said already, hopefully just without the smut that Paul said, but hopefully including some of the beautiful words that my dear friend for life, Rhonda, said. So this prayer lists a sampling of sins for which we should ask God for forgiveness. Boy, there are a lot of sins here. Are we really this sinful? And who are these sins against? Are they all even sins? Eating? Come on, we're Jews, right? I know I've done many things that are on this list, and I know there are people in this room who have sinned in ways I couldn't even imagine. I might be a better person not to have done some of them, but some I only learned not to do in the future because of the remorse after the behavior. Other things I did on this list hurt no one but myself, So those are good lessons learned, and frankly, a few mentioned, or not mentioned by me, but mentioned in the list, I don't think are sins at all, and I'm happy to have as part of my character. None of the aforementioned I have asked God to forgive me for, because it is not to God that I go for absolution. My greatest support, and sometimes the harshest judges, have always and only been myself and those I love and trust. Growing up in a home with 2 atheist parents and a devout atheist husband for the past 34 years, I have developed a personal belief in God that is at best iffy. I know for many of you, God is very present and heartfelt, and I respect that. I sometimes envy the clarity you have in relationship to your God. Not that you asked, but who do I think we should be asking for forgiveness from in 5779, if not God? Ourselves first, our loved ones, our fellow man, our community, and our world. Have I done my best every day to take good care of each? I try to have this conversation with myself each night before I go to sleep, and when I see if or how far I've fallen off the mark, I give myself a pat on the back for at least trying, push the dogs over to Bob's side of the bed, and commit to trying to be my best self the next day. So tonight I say to you, my community, thanks for being you, and if I have slighted you or hurt you in any way, please forgive me. Let's all have an easy fast. See you tomorrow.
Okay, we rise on 467. Now you have to remember, okay, where it says sin, you have to remember that in the Hebrew it's al-chet. Chet is an archery term. It means missing the mark. So it's not sin. Not that holy roller sin. It's missing the mark. So, you started off.
We have sinned against you by hardening our hearts.
And we have sinned against you by speaking perversely. Your turn.
Thus, we have sinned against you publicly and privately.
And we have sinned against you by corrupt speech.
We have sinned against you by evil thoughts.
And we have sinned against you by insincere confession.
We have sinned against you intentionally and unintentionally.
And we have sinned against you by desecrating your name. Together. For all these sins, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. We have sinned against you by foolish talk.
And we have sinned against you knowingly and unknowingly.
We have sinned against you by bribery.
And we have sinned against you by slander.
We have sinned against you in eating and drinking.
We have sinned against you by false pride.
Together, for all these sins, O God of forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. We have sinned against you by wanton glances.
And we have sinned against you by effrontery.
We have sinned against you by perverting justice.
And we have sinned against you by envy.
We have sinned against you by being stubborn.
And we have sinned against you by tale-bearing.
We have sinned against you by causeless hatred.
And we have sinned against you by confusing the values.
For all these sins, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. I ask you to remain standing as we turn to page 482. Anybody who's saying Kaddish? If you're not saying, everybody's saying Kaddish, right? It's Yisker. The other thing I want to say is that we still have our food drive going, our Sova food drive. So tomorrow, if you want, you can bring shopping bags or whatever with food so we can fill up the barrels and give them to Sova. Josh F.R. was supposed to say it, but we're running late. So please take these cards home. Keep them. You never know when you might need them. We say together, Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabah. V'yamad divrach hirtei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam l'omei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitlamam v'yitnasei. Yitadar, Yitalev, Yitalal, Shemei Dekucha Berichu. Le'ela, Ve'olela, Mikol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tush Bechata, V'nechemata, Damiran Bi'alma, Bimru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba, Min Shemaya, B'chayim Aleinu B'al Kol Yisrael, Bimru, Amen. Hosei Shalom B'mamav, Huya Say Shalom, Aleinu B'al Kol Yisrael, Bimru, Amen. We wish you an easy fast. We will start again tomorrow at 9 o'clock. The Torah service will be about 11 or so. Yisker will be about 12:30-ish. Thank you, thank you, thank you.